Okay, so have you ever noticed that,
Noticed that.
like, when you're trying to study at home,
Uh-huh.
it's like your house is working against you?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like my refrigerator knows exactly when I sit down with a textbook,
It's calling to you.
and suddenly I need a snack.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So today we're going to deep dive into something different,
Okay.
ditching the home office altogether
Interesting.
and heading to the library to study.
Okay.
Our source for today is an
Mhm.
article called Why Library is Better Option Than Home for Self-Study.
All right.
And it's from the Tech House blog,
Keck House.
which is interesting because
Yeah.
it's a website that offers co-working and library spaces.
Oh, okay.
So maybe a little biased.
Yeah.
But we're going to unpack this article and
All right.
see if libraries really are better for studying.
Okay.
And if so, why?
Yeah, sounds good.
So right off the bat,
Yeah.
the article talks about libraries as these dedicated, distraction-free zones. They even use the term professional workspaces,
Professional workspaces.
which I found interesting.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on that comparison?
Well, I think it really gets at this idea of the psychology of spaces.
Okay.
You know how, like, when you walk into your office,
Mhm.
your brain just kind of switches into work mode?
Yeah.
I think libraries can have that same effect for studying.
Interesting.
It's like you walk through the doors
Uh-huh.
and you're surrounded by other people focused on learning.
Right.
There's this like quiet hum of concentration.
Yeah.
It really primes your brain
Okay.
to absorb information.
Okay, makes sense.
Plus, you're free from all those distractions you have at home.
Oh,
Like, you know, the TV or that
Huh?
pile of laundry that's judging you.
Oh, for sure. Or like, in my case, a very insistent cat
The cat, yeah,
who seems to think my textbooks are excellent napping spots.
I feel that.
So it sounds like it's more than just finding a quiet corner.
Yeah,
The article also talks about the structure libraries offer.
Okay.
Like they have designated study areas
Mm-hmm.
and just this overall sense of routine,
Oh,
which is so different from my usual study routine,
what's up?
which basically involves migrating from the kitchen table to the couch
Oh, yeah.
and then finally ending up in bed,
Yeah, I've been there.
just trying to find a comfortable spot.
Yeah, I think that goes back to those environmental cues we were talking about.
Okay.
You know, like how we associate our beds with sleep
Mm-hmm.
and our dining tables with eating.
Right.
Well, a designated study space
Yeah.
can actually trigger that same mental association.
Mm-hmm.
It can help you slip into study mode more easily.
That's interesting.
And the routine aspect is huge too.
Yeah.
You know, having a consistent place and time for studying
Right.
can actually turn it from a dreaded chore
Yeah.
into a more ingrained habit.
Which is huge.
Totally. It's a game changer when you're facing a semester's worth of textbooks.
For sure. And then on top of that,
Hmm.
we can't forget about all the tech resources libraries offer.
Oh, right.
You know, they have Wi-Fi and
Yeah.
internet access, all
Mhm.
those things that are so essential for studying these days.
Totally.
But they can be such a headache to set up at home.
Yeah, especially if you don't have unlimited data.
Exactly. Or the budget for super fast internet.
Right.
So it's like a library gives you this fully equipped office.
It's like a free home office.
Yeah.
Without all the upfront costs.
Exactly. Which I know
Right.
knowing your love for efficient learning
Mm.
probably makes your heart sing a little.
Maybe just a little.
Okay, so here's where the article takes a turn I wasn't quite expecting.
Okay.
They start talking about this, like, inspiring atmosphere of a library.
Inspiring atmosphere.
Yeah, and the motivational boost you get from being surrounded by other focused individuals.
Mm.
I have to admit, I chuckled a little when I read that.
Why is that?
Because at home, my study buddies are usually my two cats.
Oh, your cat.
And as much as I love them, they're not exactly whiz kids when it comes to discussing, you know, organic chemistry.
Yeah, I get that.
So I'm curious, like, how does this social facilitation actually play out in a library setting?
Well, imagine you're at the gym.
Okay.
Are you more likely to push yourself harder
Uh-huh.
when you're surrounded by other people working out
Okay.
or when you're all alone?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's the same principle in a library.
Mm.
Even if you're not directly interacting with others,
Right.
just that subtle awareness that everyone around you is focused on learning,
Uh-huh.
it can actually create this like positive peer pressure.
Interesting.
It's like the subconscious nudge
Okay.
to stay on task.
I'm starting to see the appeal,
Yeah.
but I do wonder if this inspiring atmosphere thing is a bit subjective.
Subjective, how so?
Well, I mean, this article is coming from Tech House, a
Right.
company that, you know, profits from people using their library spaces.
Yeah, that's true.
So are they just trying to sell us on their particular brand of library magic?
That's a great question.
Or is there actually something to be said for finding a library with the right vibe for you?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And it brings up something important.
What's that?
Not all libraries are created equal.
Right.
Just like with anything else, the ideal library environment is very personal.
Okay.
Some people really thrive in absolute silence.
Uh-huh.
Others, myself included, actually focus better with a little background hum.
So how do you figure out
Yeah.
what kind of library environment works best for you?
I think you have to think about your own study personality.
Study personality.
Yeah, like do you thrive in a bustling, high-energy space?
Okay.
Or do you need a quiet corner tucked away from all the commotion?
Interesting.
Do you prefer dim lighting or lots of natural light?
Hmm.
It's all about understanding your own preferences
Okay.
and finding a library that aligns with them.
That makes me think about my own experiences in libraries. Like,
Yeah.
I remember in college, there was
Uh-huh.
this one library that was always packed. It had this, like, electric energy that I found super motivating.
Oh, nice.
But then there was this other library
Yeah,
that was like a tomb.
like a tomb.
Yeah, it was pin drop silence,
Wow.
dimly lit, and it just felt intimidating.
Intimidating.
Yeah, like I was going to get shushed for breathing too loudly.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point.
Mm.
What feels motivating for one person
Mm.
might feel distracting or even anxiety-inducing for another.
That's true.
The key is to experiment.
Okay.
Explore different libraries and see what feels right for you.
So it's not just about going to any library.
Yeah.
It's about finding your library,
Exactly.
the one that clicks with your study style and personality.
Precisely. And I think that's something the article, even with its potential bias,
Yeah.
does highlight,
Okay.
this importance of creating a personalized study environment,
Hmm.
which, let's be honest, is much harder to do when your home is, well, your home.
Right, because it's your home.
Yeah, with all its competing demands and distractions.
Yeah. You know, that's a really interesting point. It's like
Mhm.
libraries give you this permission to step out of your everyday life
Okay.
and enter this space
Yeah.
that's solely dedicated to learning.
Exactly.
It's like hitting the pause button
Yeah.
on all those other roles you play, you know, housemate, partner, parent,
Right.
and just fully embracing the role of student.
Which can be incredibly freeing
For sure.
and allows you to just focus more deeply.
Okay, I'm sold on the dedicated space and the structure.
Okay.
But sometimes I think the last thing I want when I'm trying to focus is to be surrounded by other people.
Okay.
Does the article address the social aspect at all?
Yeah, it does.
Okay,
It brings up this idea of decorum.
decorum.
Yeah, it's basically saying that the library enforces a certain level of quiet and respect,
Okay.
which, let's be real, is not something you can always guarantee at home.
Oh, tell me about it.
How many times have you been in the zone studying?
Too many times.
And then you get interrupted by, like, a well-meaning family member
Oh, yeah.
who decides that's the perfect time to have a loud conversation about what's for dinner.
Oh my gosh. Just last week, I was in the middle of this super tricky physics problem
Uh-huh.
when my roommate decided to blast 80s hair metal
Oh, no.
while doing a very enthusiastic vacuuming routine.
Oh, man.
My concentration was gone.
Yeah, it's like those kinds of distractions are pretty much inevitable at home,
Right.
no matter how hard you try to create a focused environment.
It's true.
But in a library,
Yeah.
there's this shared understanding that
Mhm.
everyone is there for a common purpose to
Okay.
learn and focus.
Right.
And that creates a level of respect and quiet that's hard to replicate elsewhere.
So it's not just about avoiding distractions.
No, it's not.
It's also about tacking into a positive kind of energy,
Exactly.
like a shared sense of purpose
Uh-huh.
that elevates everyone's focus.
Yeah, it's like those classic study montage scenes in movies.
Oh, yeah.
They always take place in libraries for a reason.
Right. With the protagonist surrounded by stacks of books,
Yeah.
furiously scribbling notes.
Fueled by that studious energy.
There you go. It's a cultural trope for a reason.
It really is.
Libraries have this almost mythical association with knowledge and learning, which can create a powerful psychological effect.
It's true.
It's like stepping into a space
Yeah.
where intellectual pursuits are not just accepted, they're celebrated.
That makes sense.
But I do have to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
I mean, not every library is created equal, right?
That's true.
I've been in some libraries that were more like cramped, noisy study halls
Yeah.
than like serene temples of knowledge.
Right. And that's where the listener's own judgment comes in.
Okay.
The article's promoting their own specific library,
Of course.
but the principles they outline,
Uh-huh.
those can and should be applied more broadly.
So what's the takeaway here?
Mm.
How can someone listening to this Yeah,
Decide if a library is the right study environment for them.
that's a great question.
And if they do decide to give it a try,
Uh-huh.
how do they find that perfect library match?
I think the real value of this article
Yeah.
isn't necessarily in convincing everyone to go to libraries.
Okay.
It's about prompting us to think critically about our study environments,
Mhm.
whether we end up in a library,
Uh-huh.
a coffee shop,
Yeah.
or even our own living room.
So you mean even if we decide to stay home,
Right.
we can still learn something from the way libraries are designed?
Exactly. The key is to identify what aspects of the library environment are most beneficial for you, and then see if you can recreate those at home.
Okay.
Maybe it's designating a specific distraction-free zone.
Right.
Maybe setting up a study playlist that mimics that library hum.
Oh, I like that.
Or even just establishing a routine that mirrors the structure of a library visit.
So it's about taking control of your environment
Totally.
to maximize learning. Exactly, whether you're in a library or your own living room.
It's about recognizing that environment
Yeah,
plays a crucial role
absolutely.
in our ability to focus,
Uh-huh.
retain information, and ultimately achieve our learning goals.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
This has been eye-opening.
Hmm.
I'm starting to see my cat less as a study buddy
Oh, no.
or more as a furry distraction I need to strategically outsmart.
That's funny.
I'm also feeling inspired to go on like a library adventure.
A library adventure.
Yeah, to find that perfect space that aligns with my study style.
I like that.
Before we wrap up, I want to quickly recap the key points.
Okay.
The article makes a pretty strong case for libraries as these study havens. It highlights everything from focused environments
Right.
to tech resources
Yeah.
to even this like unexpected power of shared motivation.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's not just about finding a quiet spot.
No, it's not.
It's about tapping into this unique atmosphere that
Yeah.
can boost your focus
Mm-hmm.
and make learning feel more like a shared journey
Right.
than
Well-
like a solitary struggle.
Right.
So for you listening, I challenge you to think about your own study habits.
Okay.
Do you find yourself constantly battling distractions at home?
Mm.
Do you crave a sense of structure and routine?
Yeah.
If so, maybe ditch the kitchen table and
Right.
give the library a try
Yeah, you might be surprised at how much more you absorb.
and enjoy the process.
Exactly. And even if you decide to stick with your home study setup,
Okay.
take a page from the library's playbook. Can you create a distraction-free zone?
Right.
Can you set up the study playlist
Okay.
that mimics that library hum?
Uh-huh.
Remember, it's all about taking control of your environment
Right.
to maximize learning.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's not about choosing one or the other.
It's about taking inspiration
Yeah.
and applying those principles
Exactly.
to create a learning environment that works for you.
Now, before we move on to part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll explore even more benefits of library studying
Yeah.
and tackle some potential drawbacks,
Sounds good.
we want to hear from you.
Right.
Head over to our website or social media
Okay.
and tell us about your experiences with libraries. Have you found that perfect library haven?
Huh?
Or are you a diehard home study enthusiast?
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Cool.
And we'll be right back
All right.
with part 2 of our deep dive into library studying.
Sounds good.